Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Godtear coverage for the channel, and today we're going to be doing one of the other mission types from the core rulebook that I don't think we've ever covered on the channel before. It's called Knowledge, using a different setup to what we're used to, and we're still going to be doing 2-on-2 today though, just to ease back into playing the game after so long. And without further ado, let's go take a look at the two teams. So this is our team blue this time. We have Grimgut, the Maelstrom type champion, so he wants to go and literally eat other followers. He has his horrible Wretchlings, and Wretchlings do not count as steps on the ladder for winning a round if they die, so they're very expendable, and he can spew out some more of them. He's also very tanky with 9 health, and he's been joined by Shale and Landslide. They're a shaper, so they want to put down their banner. It doesn't really matter if it lasts till the end of a turn, they get bonus points just for putting it down, or a bonus point. Landslide has no movement of his own, the big rock construct that Shale orders around. He gets movement when Shale activates, as long as he's close enough to him. So they'll just be working together as a team. And in this scenario, both sides start one step up the ladder, rather than their normal starting position. And that'll change as rounds go on, but we'll cover that once we go to deployment. For now, let's look at the other side. So this is Team Red, and we have Nia, one of the staples, who's been in a few videos already. She's one of the starter set champions along with Morgan, and she's just good in general. So she's also a shaper, so she wants to put down her banner. She can make new objective hexes and whatnot, and manipulate the battlefield in general with her Quartzlings. Then we have, I think maybe for the first time on the channel, we have Sneaky Pete, an assassin goblin of some variety. So he is a Slayer, so he wants to kill champions, and he's joined by 3 sneaky stabbers who will help him in that. He gets bonuses if they're nearby, I believe. For each one adjacent to the target he's after, he gains accuracy, so that he helps, or they help him assassinate better, is the gist of it. So you will have seen at the top of the video there's 2 rows of 4 objective hexes on both sides of the table. You only deploy 1 hex in on either end for this scenario, and like I mentioned, each side starts their token 1 step up the ladder more than they would normally, so it's easier to cap out your points for a round. And the trick to the knowledge one, I guess this is kind of like a knowledge is power but also dangerous type thing. When you win a round, you move your token up even further based on the number of victory points you got for winning the round, meaning that your bank of points you can have to have it in your favour grows smaller, making it easier for the other side to get it further into their half. So it might make, it kind of forces a closer game, I think. I guess we'll see. We'll get everyone deployed and be back in a second. So we're set up and good to go. Team Blue is deployed closest to camera. Team Red is up there at the top, very close in. As mentioned, there's only 1 hex range of deployment for this one, so not a lot of space to work with either way. But it will be Team Red going first in the plot phase, so the token on the ladder is 1 in their favour. Kind of spread out for Team Blue more so, but we'll see where they end up as they go for the God tiers. Obviously it's probably going to, because there's only 2 champions as opposed to 3, it's probably going to focus on one side of the battlefield. We'll see how it goes though. Jump into the first turn with the plot phase. So Nia and her Quartzlings went first out of the 2, and she gets 3 actions in a turn as long as all 3 of her Quartzlings are alive due to her Rock Concert passive. She only moves 1 in the plot phase. She did so, then she used March, which means she can move another hex, and because she had that 3rd action, she used Meditation to give herself an accuracy boon, as you can see there. The Quartzlings, they move 2 in this phase, so they could just move up with her and be even. They don't have any buffs to give out. They could bring back one of their number if they were lost, or replace one of their number with an objective hex, but too early to do so, so they're just wasting their action just staying there with her. The Sneaky Stabbers moved up 3, that's their movement in this phase. They could technically have then done Sprint, but only one of them is allowed to use Sprint, so it's kind of for encircling a target. Other than that, there's nothing really else they can do at this point in the plot phase, so they are done with that. Sneaky Pete also has a movement of 3 in this phase, so he just ran up with them, and that was enough that he could reach the closest objective hex, so he did a plan action to put down his banner for 1 step on the ladder, because he's a Slayer champion, so no bonus, and he didn't do anything else. That was his 2 actions. So now it's over to Team Blue to do their plot phase. So the terrifying twosome of Shale and Landslide went. Shale went first, to be exact. He moved up 2 as his first action, and then his Rune Caller passive kicked in. After he makes an action during his activation, if he's within 3 of Landslide, Landslide gets to move 2 hexes for free. So he did so, which made him go to there. He then used Stone Strength to give Landslide, you can either give him a defense boon or an attack boon, gave him attack, hence that being there, and then that means Runecaller triggers again, and Landslide has moved up 2. Now for Landslide's actual turn in the plot phase, there's nothing he can do at the moment. He doesn't have range, he's got a range 2 and a range 1, so nothing else. So, and sadly, Shield cannot get close enough to put down his banner, so they're just waiting there like that. So Grimgut in the plot phase, final activations for the plot phase, he just moves 1, he's super slow. He moved up and then he used New Spew, so you remove all your Wretchlings from the table, then make 5 recruit actions, and due to his Spew passive, you can do them in a line, they don't have to be placed around him. So he spewed a lovely new line of Wretchlings up the table. The tree was in the way, just moving it, the scenery is just for show, it's not to interrupt with gameplay at all, so if it needs to be moved, it will be moved. And that was him done, and then the Wretchlings, they have no base movement, so all they did for their turn was slip and slide. 2 Wretchlings can use this skill in the same activation if they're in different hexes, and it has range 1. So they gave themselves a movement boon, and this one down here, specifically within range 1, gave Grimgut a movement boon. And with that we can move into the clash phase for turn 1. So just as a reminder, now that we're in the clash phase, it is alternating activations between the two sides. The first activation for Team Red was the Quartzlings. They have no default movement in the clash phase, but they used Rolling Stones. They can roll up to 3 hexes as long as it's in a straight line. They were there. They opted to move just 2 to get them within range 2 of the Wretchlings here. Then we did Stone's Throw, 5 dice for accuracy, 5 dice for damage. Easily killed one of the Wretchlings. Unfortunately, the Wretchlings are worth 0 points on the ladder, but that's just to try and lessen what they might do once their turn rolls around. And that is the Quartzlings done. Well, we're staying here because the Wretchlings activated first in the clash phase for Team Blue. They moved, their base movement in the clash phase is 1, but they had that movement boon so they could all move 2. They did so. Then they used Slimed. Now, they're all in separate tiles, so it's only 3 dice accuracy, but it is a massive 5 dice for damage. And 2 Wretchlings may use this skill in the same activation if they are in different hexes. Now, I actually was a little confused about that. Does that mean as a bonus action, or does that mean using up both actions? It doesn't matter in this instance because the one attack was a success and it was the first one done. The second one was a miss anyway, but was a little confused as to whether or not that counted as an extra action because it's part of the same description of the slimed attack. It feels like it is, but again, it doesn't matter in this instance. But the first attack was very successful, and one of the Quartzlings has been melted into whatever you would get if you melted pure stone. Which means that when Nia activates, she's not getting her 3 actions, which is a little bad for her. But that's it, that's all they're doing. Nia activated and used Blinding Light on the Wretchlings. It's a range 2, 4 dice to hit, 5 dice for damage, and if she lands the hit, it does a accuracy debuff. So that is exactly what happened. She easily hit the Wretchlings, so the unit now has the debuff, and she outright killed the one she targeted. But again, they offer no steps on the ladder. I did forget to mention when the Quartzling died, that was 1 step on the ladder in Team Blue's favour, so it's actually crossed the line and is closer to their icon currently. But Team Red still have a banner down, and it doesn't look like that's going to get crushed. For Nia's other action, after that of the 2 she's only allowed, she just moved 2 to get her into a better position to put down her banner next turn. Grimgut used Roll to immediately just roll around and go forwards in a straight line 3 hexes, which put him to right there. Then he did a normal movement action, which is just 1 in this phase, to move up onto that Godtear there. Didn't do anything else with his turn, he's just positioning for next time. The Sneaky Stabbers activated move forwards exactly 1 hex, which is their movement in this phase. They are much faster in the plot phase. And then made use of Irritate, range 3, which allowed them to reach Landslide. All of them being on the same tile meant that there were hex that were rolling 7 dice for accuracy. It succeeded, doesn't do any damage, but does apply a accuracy debuff. And that is them done. Shield activated and moved 2 hexes in the clash phase. Sadly couldn't do anything else with his action though, that he's out of range and can't do another movement action of any type. But he did make use of Runecaller to force Landslide forward 2. He'll have to withstand blows from Sneaky Pete, but that does mean now he's close enough that he can attack the Sneaky Stabbers. It's hard to say. So Sneaky Pete is the last activation in the clash phase for Team Red, and unfortunately a bit of a tactical error on that side, because Sneaky Pete also only moves 1 hex in the clash phase. He's faster in the plot phase too, and his Sneaky Stabbers are in the way. He can't get close enough to do a backstab on Landslide. All he can do and all he will do is do Plot Revenge, which gives a accuracy boon to an ally within 2. So he's giving an accuracy boon to the sneaky stabbers, but that's all he can do. I mean, he did put down a banner, so he's still doing something worthwhile, because that is going to score at the end of the turn here. But it leaves either him or his stabbers open to being smacked by Landslide, who we're going to go to now. So for Landslide's turn, he immediately tried to use Boulder Bash, chucking a boulder at range 1 right into the sneaky stabbers. He would have made the roll at 6 dice for accuracy, but that accuracy debuff meant that it couldn't. So he missed, unfortunately. It does mean he hasn't used his attack boon. It will stay in play for when he does eventually get to rolling an attack roll. For his other action, he used Earthquake. Range 2, 4 dice for accuracy, no damage. Hit effect, move the target champion or all followers in the target's unit up to 2 hexes. He hit that successfully on 4 dice, which is quite remarkable, and moved the sneaky stabbers back 2 hexes just to displace them, so they have to do a movement action in the plot phase of next turn. And on that note, we're at the end of the first round. So the round would have ended 1 in Team Blue's favour, but Sneaky Pete's banner remained at the end of the turn before disappearing. 1, 2, 3, 4. It gives 4 points, then evaporates, and that does mean it is closer to Team Red. So Team Red has scored the first victory point, but that also means their icon comes one closer, so the amount they can possibly bank to keep it in their half has now shrunk by 1. And with that, we go into the plot phase for round 2. Here's a look at the overall board state as we start the second turn. Team Blue has opted to go first, so the victory point marker is 1 in their favour on the ladder, and they'll be going through their entire plot phase first. Shale and Landslide went first. Shale moved up 2 and then did a plant action to drop his banner right on this objective hex, which means he gains 2 steps on the ladder, not 1, because he's a Shaper champion, so that's what they want to do. Stopping so close to Landslide let him move as well. He moved up exactly 1 hex to be adjacent to Sneaky Pete at the top of your screen there. For his actions, he did Eruption. It's a range 1. Friendly and enemy models adjacent to him all gain defense down, which he did to give Sneaky Pete that debuff there, which is right here. And then he did Earthquake, which is exactly the same as in the Clash phase. No damage, but if you land the hit, you can move someone 2 hexes. Unfortunately, he could not get past Sneaky Pete's 5 dodge, but he did at least apply that defense down, which means he currently has 0 armor for 1 hit that gets through, and that is them done for the plot phase. Grimgut stayed exactly where he was when he ended the Clash phase. He used his first action to put down a banner for exactly 1 step on the ladder, because he's not the champion that gets benefits from doing that. He then used New Spew to fire out a line of Wretchlings, and then for the Wretchlings' turn, they gave themselves the movement boon, which they then used to change their movement stat from 0 to 1. So for their other action, they could move 1 square, and they have done so. You can just about make that out at the top of Godtear there. Sorry, there we go. And to encircle poor Nia right here. There's still 2 empty hexes behind her, but they are surrounding her in the hopes of cutting her off from her Quartzlings. So now it's over to Team Red for their plot phase. Well, it's looking quite busy over here now. The Quartzlings activated and immediately did a rally action to bring back their missing member, appeared behind Nia as a result. For the rest of their turn, they used Shimmer, just to give a movement negative to the Quartzling. Not Quartzlings, they gave it to the Wretchlings, sorry. Their names are very similar. And that was them done. Nia moved and then did a plant action to put her banner right here for 2 steps because she's a Shaper. She did have another action, but she can't give anything of worth. Actually, no, she couldn't have. Meditate as a self buff, and she already has the buff. At best, she could move 1 more hex, but she's kind of fine where she is. There is a Wretchling right in front of her that you can't see because Grimgut is so large. So it's kind of blocking him from getting close enough to attack her. And sort of blocking her Quartzlings as well, so she's just not going to use that 3rd action. And for Sneaky Pete and his Sneaky Stabbers, Pete moved up 1 and then did a plant action, so his banner is right there in front of Shale for 1 step on the ladder. The Sneaky Stabbers moved 3 to get behind Landslide, and then used Let Me Do It. So the more of them that do this attack, the less accuracy dice you roll, but the more damage dice you roll. So if there was only 1 of them, you'd be rolling 7 for accuracy, 4 for damage. Because there's 3 of them, it's only 3 for accuracy and 6 for damage. But they did have that accuracy boon, and it was thanks to that accuracy boon, that extra dice it gave them, that they managed to land a hit Landslide got hit. He's got 3 armor, but even after reducing that from their damage roll, he still took 2 damage. Now he's a large follower, so he doesn't die in a hit. He has 4 health in total, so he has 2 remaining. And with that, it's into the clash phase. Well, we're staying over here for the start of the clash phase because Landslide activated first on the off chance he gets taken out before he gets the chance to do anything. He started by boulder bashing again, chucking a boulder, 1 hex. He smacked it into the sneaky stabbers, managed to get through their damage, had 1 extra damage die, didn't really matter, and managed to squish one of the poor gobbles for 1 point on the ladder. He then used Earthquake to try and displace Sneaky Pete, but wasn't able to get through on the 4 accuracy dice against his 5 dodge. So that is Landslide done. Now it is worth remembering, if Landslide dies, or when he does, because he's going to go down at some point, he gets replaced by an objective hex. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing, I guess, depending on where it happens. First up for Team Red was the Quartzlings of all things. They did a movement action. Oh, actually no, they didn't do a movement action, sorry, they did Rolling Stones. Allows them to move up to 3 hexes as long as it's in a straight line. So these 2 ended up over there. This one was up there. He just rolled into there, and then they did Stone's Throw. The 2 that are in the same square chucked stones at the sneaky gobbles or the sneaky stabbers to try and help out poor Landslide, but could not get past their dodge 5 again. Shield activated for Team Blue and then immediately did a move action to step onto Sneaky Pete's banner, destroying it. Doesn't give any points, just denies points for them at the end of the round, which allowed Runecaller to kick in, let Landslide move 2 hexes, so he moved down here just to try and get a little bit of a safe distance. And then to try and help that for Shield's other action, he did Stone Spikes, range 3, 5 dice to hit, no damage, but it applies a movement debuff. Tried to do it on Sneaky Pete to keep him still for a turn, and sadly just couldn't get past his defense 5. By the way, I did forget to mention in the plot phase, but obviously the Sneaky Stabbers doing an attack that does damage is atypical for the clash phase, but there is some champions and or followers in the game that work like that, where they actually do damage in the plot phase, as opposed to what 90% of the characters do, which is buffs, debuffs, movement, etc. Plot phase, damage in the clash phase. The goblins are up to something. The Sneaky Stabbers activated, did a recruit action. Because of Shield's pointy rocks you can't quite see, but the Sneaky Stabber that came back is adjacent to Sneaky Pete up there. And then they did a movement action, so the one that respawned didn't move at all, he's fine where he is. The other 2, however, have moved into the hex here between Shield and Landslide. They're trying to set up a good turn for Sneaky Pete here. The horrible slimy wretchlings activated. They only used 1 of their actions. There was nothing else they wanted to do really. Actually no, sorry, there was. They did a movement action, but they didn't actually move because of their movement debuff, but that gets rid of the debuff, it wipes it clean because they did the action. What they did was slimed the hex with 2 of them, tried to do it on the Quartzling. That, actually, got to do it in order. First of all, because this skill gets to target 2, they targeted Nia, a single one tried to hit Nia, used up the accuracy debuff they also had, didn't land the hit, she's dodge 4. Then the hex of 2 attacked the Quartzling by himself there, but even without the debuff affecting them, only 4 dice for accuracy. They got that through actually, it was the 4 defense they couldn't pierce with 5 attack dice. The Quartzlings are pretty tough, so no damage done. Didn't really do anything, to be honest. Well, this was meant to be Sneaky Pete's moment to shine. Second last activation for Team Red in the clash phase. He started with a backstab, range 1, 5 dice accuracy, 5 dice for damage. If it hits, it also does 1 true damage as long as the target is a champion. He attacked Shale, the true damage went through because the hit went through. Oh yeah, and his passive kicked in for every adjacent Sneaky Stabber to his target, plus 1 accuracy die. So that landed for 1 damage, well, 1 true damage. Unfortunately his damage roll was not great, even though Shale is only 2 armor, so he only did 1 more with that. So then he did Pounce, aka his ultimate, his once per game. Range 2, 6 dice accuracy, again the bonus applies to it though. Oh, as the camera gets kicked by the dog going underneath it. Oh, for goodness sake. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the accuracy was affected on his ult, and then 6 dice for damage. He can be placed adjacent on an adjacent tile if you wish. He opted to stay where he was. The damage roll was better, but still not great. He did 2 more, so in total Shale has taken 4, and would you believe it, Shale has 5 health. So unfortunately Shale lived on 1, and they were kind of relying on that kill happening, because that would have been 5 steps on the ladder. The two Shaper objectives have wiped each other out, and then Grim Guts would have kind of balanced it Well, actually, with Grimgut there as well, I think that still wouldn't have made a difference. They had a better chance of getting the round if that had worked, because obviously Shill would be down. He'd have to rally next turn as well. But no, he lived on 1 health. Last activation for Team Blue in this clash phase anyway. Grimgut activated, he rolled forward, crushed Nia's banner, so that is not going to last to the end of the turn anymore. And didn't do anything else because his only attack has to target a follower. He can't reach the one lone Quartzling. He could have done a new spew to prepare, but he wanted those to continue surrounding the two of them to kind of deter them from being able to escape in that direction. So he's only using the one action. He even had a movement boon, but he's not using that either. He's holding on to it. So it's over to Nia herself now to end off this round entirely. And it is currently in Team Blue's favour, so let's see if she can do anything. So nothing Nia could do would alter how this round is going to go, so she's prepping for the next round. She used Blinding Light and obliterated one of the Wretchlings, using up her accuracy boon in the process. It was no steps, because that's the Wretchling's rule. Then she just moved 2, as she can in this phase, down here. Oh, actually, she had another action left, though, because of the 3 Quartzlings still being alive. Is there anything else she needs to do? At best, she could do a armor debuff on someone. Well, we'll see if she decides to. I mean, she might as well put it on someone. We'll see who she wants to, and then be back with the recap for the turn, because there's a lot of movement on the ladder. So we're at the end of the second round, but just to quickly cover what Nia decided to do at the end of the clash phase there. Did erosion on Grimgut, even though it's not likely she's going to try and take him on because he's so tanky with 9 health, but he has a defense down boon, or negative now, and forgot to mention, but when she did Blinding Light on the Wretchlings, that applied a accuracy down on them as well. But anyway, at the end phase, the only other additional points are to come from Grimgut's banner still being on the table for 4 points, and also Shale's. They're both on there. They both come off at this point, though. That gives them 8 more steps on the ladder, but it was already in their favour. It would have been a bit different if Shale had gone down, but that does mean that Team Red are going to be in a good place next turn. But yeah, Team Blue does indeed claim the 2 victory points, so their marker moves a further 2 up as per the rules for knowledge. So they have even less of a buffer here. Although, actually, when you add up the points at the end of the round, you just add up, and then the difference is what you apply to the ladder. So maybe it is a benefit, now that I think about it, because you would need less to get it closer to yours than the enemy's. When you're moving it during a round, it can get stopped early. But yeah, I was double checking the rules there about how you add up banner points and whatnot at the end of the turn. You just do the maths, and then the difference is what you move the token by. So yeah, actually, I was seeing this as a negative to start with, and now I'm realising, no, it's actually a benefit. So here's the board state at the top of the third round. Team Red lost, and they've chosen to go first, so the ladder is 1 in their favour. Also worth mentioning, if Team Blue win this round, that will give them enough victory points to win the match. It'll give them 5 in total. If Team Red win, though, that will only put them at 4, so there will have to be another round after that. So Team Red will be doing their plot phase first. Let's see what happens. Well, the round got started, of course, with Sneaky Pete finishing what he started, because as it turns out, he can also do an attack in the plot phase. It isn't just the clash phase for him. He did a backstab. It's exactly the same as the version on his clash phase side. 5 dice accuracy, 5 dice damage. He did it on Shale, got exactly 1 damage through, which was enough to take him out. That's 5 steps on the ladder for that. He then did a plant action to throw down his banner again right here for another 1. So on the ladder, it is now maxed out for Team Red. It can't move any closer to their side, so they kind of want Team Blue to get some point scoring out of their system before they go for any more, just to keep it firmly in their side. The Sneaky Stabbers also decided to finish what they started in the plot phase. They used Sprint. You select 1 Sneaky Stabber, it moves 3 hexes, so the one that was separated from the rest of them came round 1, 2, 3 to be on the exact same tile as the other 2. Then they did a Let Me Do It on Shale. Because there was 3 of them, they were only rolling 3 accuracy dice but 6 damage dice. They landed the hit, he's only got dodge 2, and managed to get 3 damage through. He only had 2 health left. So Landslide goes down, but the ladder doesn't move because they're already maxed out. A large follower gives 2 steps, usually. And Landslide in particular, when he gets destroyed, he becomes a new objective hex. So there is now a new Godtear right on the ground there. He'll still be able to get a turn. He'll only have 1 action because he has to get brought back into the fold, but he will be back. So for Nia and the Quartzlings, they activated in the plot phase. Nia moved 1, marched 1, and then put down her banner. She had 3 actions because all 3 of them were on the field. Didn't do anything, but it gives them another problem to deal with. Also, I noticed something I definitely misspoke about earlier. I hope I caught it in editing and put a correction up on screen. I remember saying that the Quartzlings chucked rocks at the Sneaky Stabbers. What I meant was they were helping the Sneaky Stabbers throwing rocks at Landslide, which I probably talked about their dodge 5. I meant his defense 3. But definitely a mistake. I certainly hope I didn't roll the wrong thing, but I definitely remember saying the wrong thing because I just went to move them just now and was like, hang on a second, that doesn't work out, they're on the same team. Anyway, the Quartzlings, they moved 2, so the one up here tried to move out of the circle and snaring him. These 2 moved further towards Nia, and then the single one tried to do Shimmer on Grimgut, only one of them, rolling 4 dice, and whiffed. He's only dodged 2, but still whiffed, so wasn't able to put that debuff on him. First up for Team Blue's plot phase was Grimgut and his Wretchlings. He moves 1 normally, but he had a movement boon he hadn't used yet, so he plodded forward 2, then did a claim action, which, can you see it? It's so bulbous. There it is behind him. So that put them 1 step on the banner. Then the Wretchlings activated, they gave themselves the movement buff, and then moved 1. So one of them is here, 1 here, and then 2 on the square up there. One of them is still dead, because Grimgut hasn't had time to do a new spew yet. And that's him done for the plot phase. There wasn't much for Shale and Landslide to do, given that they both have to get back into the battle for 1 action. Shale did that first, then moved 2 to crush Sneaky Pete's banner to at least remove that from scoring at the end of the round, but didn't do anything else. Landslide reformed himself right next to his master, and then didn't do anything because he couldn't risk giving a armor debuff to Shale and his Earthquake. He doesn't really want Sneaky Pete to get moved away. They kind of want to smack him. So he's doing nothing else with other action. And with that, we're going into the Clash phase, with Red Team picking first activation. The Quartzlings got the Clash phase started using Rolling Stones, and presumably when you use that if they're on separate hexes, you measure each individual straight line from wherever each of them is. If not, then this was done incorrectly. The one up here just rolled forward 1, these 2 rolled forwards 2, putting them all in the same hex. From there, even though it is a bit risky, they then initiate a stone throw into Grimgut, and unfortunately, even with the negative to his armor, they had 1 success, and that would have brought his armor down to 1, so they did nothing. Didn't do too great there at all. So Grimgut activated, and he decided to use his ultimate for his first action. Well, he hasn't actually done his second action yet because we need to cover this first. It's called Buffet. It's a range 1, 7 dice for accuracy, 7 dice for attack. Can only target followers, but can target up to 3 in any hexes within range, including all being on the same hex. He did it on the Quartzlings, having to beat dodge 2 and then damage -4 because they're 4 armor, and he ate everyone. He ate all 3 of them. That was a bit unexpected, to be honest. They are out of there, and they can't come back until the next plot phase because they've already had their turn. More importantly, though, that would normally give 3 markers on the board, but because he's a Maelstrom champion, it gives 3 more, 1 for each of them. So that's 6 in their favour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Puts it just closer to them by 1 square, I believe. Obviously does use up his ultimate, but he's not done yet because then he does have another action, and using an ultimate is an action. So he's also crushing Nia's banner here by moving on to it right there. Doesn't score any points again, but does deny them. Quick Clash phase for Sneaky Pete. He backstabbed Shale and got him only for 1. The attack roll went through nice and easy, the damage roll was just appalling. So 1 more damage to Shale, that's him back down to 4 health remaining. Then he used Plot Revenge to give an accuracy boon to his Sneaky Stabbers there. We're back with the disgusting Wretchlings. They moved 1 hex. Well, they're on separate hexes, but this one moved to block Nia, this one moved, these 2 moved down, and then the single one closest to Nia tried to throw slime on her. 3 dice accuracy, could not get through her 4 dodge, so nothing there. And they did have the debuff, which has now been used up at least, so that's them done. The Sneaky Stabbers decided to only use 1 of their actions because they can't attack in this phase, because they're weird like that. So they did Irritate, range 3, they did it on Landslide, and easily did it on the 7 accuracy dice they get to roll for it, applying a accuracy debuff to him for the next time he tries to hit, presumably Sneaky Pete. So Shale activated. It's a bit hard to see the token beyond him, but for his turn he started with a Tremor, range 2, remove all boons from enemies within range, so he stripped the Sneaky Stabbers of their accuracy buff I believe they had. Then he did Stone Spikes, range 3, 5 dice accuracy, no damage, but if it hits, apply the movement debuff, and this time he did get it on Sneaky Pete, making it harder for the Gobble to run away next turn. That's 2 negatives Sneaky Pete still has on him because no one's attacked him yet, so he still has the armor debuff. So that's it for Shale, and they've still got Landslide left, but it's over to Nia for the final Team Red activation. So we're over here for Nia's Clash Phase activation. However, I did forget Rock Formation. When Nia's banner is removed from the battlefield, a Quartzling can make a recruit action even if it's the end phase. So all the Quartzlings died, then Grimgut crushed her banner, so she should have made a recruit action at that point. So there's going to be a Quartzling, better put it there actually. So there's a Quartzling there. It doesn't affect her turn, it just means there is still one on the table, and they've already had their turn regardless. But for Nia's turn, she used Blinding Light on Grimgut, got him for 2 damage, and applied that accuracy debuff to him, and then moved away 2. It's not looking good for for Team Red taking this, thanks to the points scored by Grimgut there. That was a big mistake, putting the Quartzlings together like that. Forgot what his ultimate did, so that probably was game costing right there. It's over to Landslide though as the final activation is Clash Phase. Well, after spending most of the game whiffing, Landslide just assured Team Blue that victory just now. He did Boulder Bash, 6 dice for accuracy, but down to 5 because of his negative debuff he had sitting on him. He still managed to land the hit, and then the damage roll, 6 dice for damage. Sneaky Pete only has 1 armor. Can you see the damage? Oh yeah, if you put it there. There was 1 more in there for the damage roll, and a blank, I believe, because that's a 3, 4, 5, yeah, there was a blank in there as well, there it is. Blank obviously does nothing, he has 1 armor, but he rolled fantastically on the other dice and did 7, that's all the hearts up here, he did 7 damage to Sneaky Pete, who has 5 health, so he just killed him for 4 steps on the ladder. And that also means that when the turn is ending, Grimgut's banner is still on there. So, well, let's go look at the ladder, because, yeah, the game is over. So that is where the turn ended, and in the end phase, only Team Blue has a banner down, so it would try and move 4 towards this icon. Obviously it can only move 1, but whatever. It scores them the 3 victory points they need. With the 2 they had from before, they have 1 with the 5 victory points required. So the deadly duel today of Grimgut and Shale managed to take it home, and it was purely because of the dumb mistake with Nia moving the Quartzlings right next to Grimgut, forgetting that his ultimate is designed for that precise thing. Can you imagine if there was 5 of them? How many points that would give him if there were... Well, you can only have 3 on a tile, I suppose, but doesn't it say you can target another hex? Oh no, you can only ever hit 3 max. Okay, so he actually got the best, the most benefit out of that is possible to get, which is 6 steps on the ladder. Pretty ridiculous, honestly. So that is going to conclude another game of Godtear. First time doing the knowledge quest type or mission type. I feel like this one probably would be better with 3 heroes, so you can more spread out your forces. You kind of have to focus on one side and hope for the best if you only are using 2 or 1. And so yeah, this is definitely one designed for the set number of champions you're supposed to use. Either way though, I sincerely hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you very much for doing so, and we'll hopefully see you in the future for more. We'll try and get Fenrir on the table soon. Until next time, ta-ta for now.